This week, Update takes another look at some of the celebrities for WrestleMania 2. The irrepressible Joan Rivers, Olympic boxing coach Lou Duva, the elusive burger man Herb, former world boxing champion Smoking Joe Frazier, TV's diminutive old-fashioned lady Claire Peller, radiant actress Susan St. James, the enigmatic yet resolute G. Gordon Liddy, brilliant young actor Ricky Schroeder, Chocolate Thunder Darryl Dawkins, Cotton Club's incomparable Cab Calloway, shapely and beautiful Kathy Lee Crosby, slightly evil but immensely intriguing Elvira, musician and singer extraordinaire Ray Charles, television superstar Robert Conrad, football's all-time great Dick Butkus, the airy but explosive rock star Ozzy Osbourne. And now this from our newest celebrity.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tommy Lasorda. In Los Angeles on April the 7th at the Sports Arena, I will be the ring announcer for the great match between Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy. Be there. You're going to really enjoy it.
WrestleMania 2 will undoubtedly be professional wrestling's biggest ever extravaganza. For Update, this is Lord Alfred Hayes.
Hello, my name is Sean Cunningham, the Commissioner from Wrestling Audio Revolution, and welcome to Historical Significance. In this installment, WrestleMania 2. On April 7th, 1986, Vince McMahon held probably the most ambitious card in pay-per-view history, WrestleMania 2. It took place from 3 venues: the Los Angeles Sports Arena in Los Angeles, California, the Rosemont Horizon just outside of Chicago, and Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, New York. The attempted pay-per-view triple cast from 3 locations was largely in response to Jim Crockett Promotions holding Starrcade 85 in November from both Atlanta and Greensboro. Each venue had a live title match, and each venue had its own major separate main event, as well as large quantities of celebrities for the time. Now, the build for this show was one of the greatest things that WWE has maybe ever done. The Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy WWF title match in Los Angeles inside the steel cage, as well as the Roddy Piper versus Mr. T boxing exhibition in New York, were built from a NBC special Saturday Night's Main Event, originally aired on March 1st, 1986, emanating from Phoenix. In the case of the Mr. T Roddy Piper match, it stemmed from a long series of boxing exhibitions held by Cowboy Bob Orton, who was taking on local talent in 3-round boxing exhibitions, claiming he'd knock out anybody. Hulk Hogan appeared on a Piper's Pit to sign Mr. T up for one of those exhibitions. That match took place on Saturday Night's Main Event, where Orton took his first loss, being knocked over the top rope and out in the second round. An angry Piper got in the ring with no gloves and what was believed to be no training, and wanted to challenge Mr. T. This allowed Bob Orton to give a running knee to the back of Mr. T in what was deemed by WWF one of the biggest, most embarrassing moments for the company, as Mr. T was a big star. But of course, as we all know, this just led to the boxing match as the main event in Nassau Coliseum for WrestleMania 2. The Los Angeles main event was King Kong Bundy, Hulk Hogan for the WWF title inside a steel cage. And again, we go back to Phoenix. Hulk Hogan was defending the WWF title against the Magnificent Morocco, who, for whatever strange reason, had Bobby the Brain Heenan in his corner for a quote-unquote ailing Mr. Fuji who had flu-like symptoms. And this Hulk Hogan encounter ended for Bobby Heenan the same way a lot of them do, with Bobby Heenan being pounded around, tossed around, and choked by Hogan. But in this case, someone came to the rescue of Bobby Heenan, and that was King Kong Bundy. And Bundy and Morocco proceeded to beat on Hulk Hogan, give him several avalanches and splashes, to the point where it was believed that Bundy had broken Hogan's ribs. And this was the main storyline going into the match at WrestleMania 2. Could Hogan recover from the broken ribs? Could Hogan do what he could normally do against Bundy? And could he win a cage match? The third venue probably had my two favorite matches on it, and that was Chicago. Chicago had the tag team title match between the British Bulldogs and the Dream Team of Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Now, this was probably a straight-up wrestling match, the best one on the show that night, with the Bulldogs winning after Davey Boy rammed Greg the Hammer Valentine's head into dynamite, and Davey Boy got the pin after everybody was basically knocked out because this match had gone 25-30 minutes. But the true main event for the Chicago portion was the 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal headlined by Andre the Giant, along with 14 other wrestlers. But wait a minute, this was a 20-man battle royal. 6 of the participants in the 20-man battle royal were NFL football players, some current at the time, and some retired. Now, for the current players at the time in 1986, this was a bit shocking that this was allowed, because if you tried to do something like that now with football players who were under contract for the next season, there would be 1,800 million waivers, and it would never, ever be done. You'd never have a pro player who was under contract wrestle in the match. The two main football players of note who were in the match, one was Bill Fralick, who had won Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Atlanta Falcons, and the second was Chicago Bears star William the Refrigerator Perry, a very charismatic defensive tackle who played for the then Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears and basically got the largest reaction of the night. And he was treated like the true babyface, even getting involved with Big John Studd, who eventually eliminated Perry. But in one of the more comedic moments of the entire show, William Perry wanted to shake Studd's hand, saying, "Hey, you eliminated me fairly." So Studd put out his hand, and Refrigerator pulled John Studd, who was 6'11", over the top rope, causing his elimination by a football player. So yeah, that was pretty funny, and I entirely understand why years later, William the Refrigerator Perry was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. But the victory in that Battle Royal went to Andre the Giant, one of the true legends of wrestling, as we all know. One of the other main points I want to bring out is every single venue had a title match. Now, I've talked about the Chicago title match, and I've talked about the Los Angeles title match, but the New York portion had the Intercontinental title match between Randy Macho Man Savage and George Steele. Now, this was not a wrestling classic by any stretch, but again, looking back on it, Randy Savage made something out of not very much and was able to pin George Steele with his feet on the rope, making George Steele a sympathetic babyface, still proving he was the best wrestler on the roster at the time. Looking back on it, what Vince McMahon was going to do by growing the WWE the way that he did into the global juggernaut it is now, big stadiums, hundreds of thousands of people, heck, even a network. They talk about getting their television in 60 countries, which they did. WrestleMania 2 was likely a catalyst for all that, because they were able to get more mainstream publicity for that show at the time than any other wrestling promotion could ever get. Largely by doing 3 major US cities and having sports legends and acting stars participate in that show. So for anybody who doesn't believe that entertainment and sports and wrestling couldn't cross over, and that was one of the big targets, look back at WrestleMania 2 and you'll see how much crossover there truly was. And we now know why the world was watching. For Wrestling Audio Revolution, this has been Historical Significance. I am Sean Cunningham.
Closed-circuit giant-screen television wrestling event of all time. From 3 different stadiums across America, 3 incredible main events. World champion Hulk Hogan against King Kong Bundy in a steel cage. Roddy Piper in boxing gloves against Mr. T. Plus the wildest battle royal of all time, starring the Refrigerator William Perry, Big John Studd, and 20 other wrestling superstars. WrestleMania 2, Monday, April 7th, Montreal Forum. Tickets now on sale at the Forum and all Ticketron outlets.